One of the things that I thought that certainly would be good to get your view on that. As a lawyer that's just joining the workforce today, in-house or in private practice, so let's say you're either a trainee or 2, 3, 4 years PQE, what do you think are the skills that they should be focusing on? And part of that is, I know part of your interest came from your work with IP lawyers. I'm not saying everyone has to go out there and learn to certainly code or even be an expert in using tech, but what do you think are some of the things they should at least be keeping an ear to the ground about?
This is a huge can of worms, and I'm really glad you've asked me about it because it's something I'm fairly passionate about. This is perhaps a bit of a controversial thing to say, but I think that the skills that often junior lawyers at this point in time get rewarded for, and indeed, they can absolutely excel at and move up doing, not necessarily the skills that junior lawyers are going to need to have in 10 years, or indeed those junior lawyers who are starting or working now are going to need by the time that they're looking at partnership. And actually, one of the reasons I left practice myself was because, I was doing IP litigation and thoroughly enjoying it. But a large part of what I did was taking precedent information and then reshaping it. And sometimes that was deleting and filling out square brackets. Sometimes it was a fair bit more complicated. And I wouldn't want to undersell how hard some of that can be. But ultimately, I was the most junior person on the team. So I was doing a lot of the more monotonous square bracket, literally filling out or deleting. And actually, I got pretty good at it. And I'm dyslexic. To avoid those comments about sort of attention to detail, I actually got quite good at creating almost algorithms in my brain around how to use find and replace, how to perform checks and all this kind of thing. And I thought, hang on, I'm getting good at this, and people are clapping and applauding me for getting better at this stuff. But actually, this isn't why I got into the law, but also this is stuff which is probably not going to serve me that well in the future. And this is not stuff, when I look at the people who are more senior than me, that really impresses me about them. And obviously, when I was a trainee, I was really impressed by people who knew every word function, but that's slowly changed. So to that end, what skills would I say to build? And I this is again a bit controversial, but the negative feedback I often got in practice was, why do you always try and find a different way of doing things? Or why do you always overcomplicate things, Giles? And so I would actually say to people to sort of don't lose that. I think that's ultimately, I had it to such a degree that I thought I actually want to change the way that certain things are done for the better. So I moved. But I think there's always a healthy element of that mindset, I think, is really important to preserve. And I think it's important to remember, especially when you're on the junior end, people who are more senior don't necessarily have an incentive for you to keep asking those questions. Right. And you might set yourself apart as someone who is able to innovate and challenge the status quo, and actually maybe even generate new forms of revenue for the business, but also for yourself and your place in the partnership. So I'd say hold on to that kind of challenge things mentality. Obviously, there's a time and a place, probably like 3 a.m. when you're trying to close the transaction, it's not the time. But I think take advantage of the opportunities that are available to exercise that particular muscle, and definitely network with the technologists in your firm, and network with people like ourselves are, because frankly we're grateful from the attention from private practitioners or in-house lawyers, but actually because we might be able to teach something and give them a tool that will sort of help them stand out.